Hello, everyone. T.I. Dave here with probably one of the most important videos I've ever done. The person that sent me this information knows who they are. I really appreciate them because I'm calling all researchers, all YouTubers, all administrators of TI groups. This is no joke, what I'm about to say, and this is why I do this regularly on my channel. And I'm asking that if you have a channel or a platform, you do the same thing. Or, well, I'll get into it. So TIs are being painted as dangerous, mentally ill, deranged, and all that, and due to acts of violence going on by certain people, especially one who was named Stephen Marlowe. It gives when TIs go act out in violence, destroy people's property, uh, and are acting in violence, and they're not defending themselves, and they're going to try to prove a point. That just destroys our credibility. Not only that, innocent people get hurt, and it's not the answer at all. And today I'm going to read an example of what happens when TIs go and commit an act of violence. I've said this for years on my show. I always do a video every now and then or do a post telling TIs not to act in violence. And you always get somebody saying no, they should act in violence. And that's the one you want to avoid. If you're in a group, and I'm fixing to give you an example and a good example why you should avoid that. Okay? If you're in a group and somebody's promoting violence or let's go take down the system, with force and avoid them, block them. They're giving you the wrong information. They're leading you down a path that is totally dangerous, and it not only is going to get you hurt or in jail for the rest of your life, and then you're no good to the TI community, or it's going to get you in jail the rest of your life, hurt, and it's going to hurt the TI community's credibility. It's going to make us look dangerous, um, and everything. So somebody shared this person's post on X. See, on Stephen Marlowe made comments like before he done. I don't know if you know, but anyway, I'm gonna read about it and all that. But anyway, he made comments like before he did what he did, which I'm gonna read about it. I don't advise nobody to search this. Uh, so anyway, somebody shared a post. So Marlowe declared his intent before he carried out his attack to launch the first counterattack against mind control in history. Okay? Now look what is going on now off of Stephen Marlowe, what Stephen Marlowe did. Look what's going on now. So this post, let's see how many. Okay. So this gives people that are perps and non-perps, anybody. This gives people the right to declare us or not the right. It gives them leeway to talk about us in ways uh, that we're dangerous and all that. Well, anybody that watches my YouTube channel knows I don't push violence at all. I don't push destroying people's property. I don't push none of that. There's ways to fight against this stuff without using violence or any of that. And um, one way is to learn the psyops. Learn psyops, beat the psychological operations by learning what you're sensitized to, uh, learn ways to, uh, like the stun gun EMP, reading the Bible, heavy metal detox, and then I got something else I'm going to bring to the table that works, but I'm not going to bring it to the table until Holly can videotape me showing it works because I'm going to show it works. I found it out yesterday, but I'm going to keep that under wraps and that'll be another video. But I'm just saying, or you know, write letters uh, to whoever. I really don't think that works, but I encourage, if you want to do it, do it. I did it many times, um, and I got nowhere. But there's different ways you can do stuff without violence. Just be creative. Any YouTube creator or anybody needs to put posts. Don't act out in violence. Don't act out and destroy people's property. and I'm not saying if somebody comes up to you and is fixing to kill you or something like that, don't defend yourself at all or defend your home. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying don't do what any of these people have done. Your Myron May, Aaron Alexis. They all thought that they were going to change something, but they just made it look worse on us and made Facebook groups, X groups, and all of them look worse. So, if you get comments under a post, if you say you're hearing V2K or if you're posting about TI stuff or stuff like that, and somebody comments, "Oh, well, get with me. We need to go take down the system, or we need to go take out somebody or something like that," you better get as far away and block them. They don't have your best interests at heart. Okay? All right, here we go. Stephen Marlowe, a 39-year-old self-identified targeted individual, was charged with the August 5th, 2022 murder of four neighbors in Butler Township, Ohio, driven by his delusional belief. This is him talking. They think we're delusional, and it's making us look even more delusional when people do violence and stuff like that. And I'm so emotional right now because it makes me upset that somebody, V2K and all that. That's why I've seen it in Facebook groups. People say when I post about not doing violence or somebody posts about it, they'll just count, oh, you're wrong. You're leading people down the wrong path. No, because I know what V2K does. I know what it tries to get you to do. Ignore that thought no matter what. Look at it as if you ignore that thought and don't commit an act of violence or don't do nothing they say, you win. Okay? Okay. So this is not me talking. This is a skeptic who's trying to down targeted individuals. Um, I guess. I don't know. When somebody shared this to me, I had this person blocked. Uh, okay. I blocked him a long time ago. But anyway, Stephen Marlowe, a 39-year-old, this is him writing, and this is what they do. They try to make us look bad off something somebody does, an incident somebody does, and look how bad they're talking about us. And the only reason they had the uh I'm trying to think of how to word it. The only reason they thought they could bank off and make us look bad, which in the long run, if we all stick together and all put this in our forums and whatever groups we're in, do not commit act of violence no matter what you hear, no matter what, it's not the answer. I think we'll make a lot of progress. We want to push that. Okay. Stephen Marlowe, listen what this dude says. Stephen Marlowe, a 39-year-old identified target, was charged with August 5th, 2022 murder of four neighbors in Butler Township, Ohio, driven by his delusional belief. See, they're calling him delusional. That government agents controlling his mind through telepathic ventriloquism. His case illustrates the potential dangers of TI ideology, particularly when amplified through public performative acts like social media posts, and highlights risk associated with research in this community. Applying Carl Jasper biographical method to Marlowe's case as requested sheds a light on how his digital diaries, TikTok and Facebook videos, served as both evidence of his subjective reality and a performative act that escalated his actions, while also raising concerns about the ethical and practical challenges of a TI research. Marlowe's killings as performative act Marlowe's actions align with Jasper's biographical method, which emphasizes analyzing a patient's self-narratives to understand their mental state. And that's not true. See, so now they're saying they're basically this dude Jasper, I guess, has a method where he can say he can analyze the patient's self-narratives to understand their mental state. Well, I believe there's stuff's going on. I know it's going on with me. I hear V2K 24/7. I was burnt to a crisp yesterday. Uh, but I will never commit an act of violence unless I'm defending myself. And I'm not going to promote violence on nothing. I'm not going to try to take down the system with violence or nothing. So uh, leave me out of that category, Jasper. Uh, and I never promote it nowhere, and I always talk against it. And I hope other creators and other people that run groups will also start doing this because it's very important, especially people who hear B2K, that they be told that's not the answer. Okay. In TikTok video posted shortly after the killings, Marlowe declared his intent to launch the first counterattack against mind control in history, framing his murders as deliberate symbolic act to execute those he believed were activating mass shooters through mind control. This video, described as a manifesto and court records, was a public performance meant to inspire other TIs and gain notoriety, reflecting Jasper's focus on how patients articulate their attitude towards their illness. Marlowe's belief in being a TI, part of an online subculture convinced of organized persecution via surveillance or technology. See how they're talking about us again? Was central to his narrative. He saw violence as a defensive act to expose the conspiracy, stating, "I will gladly die to expose this," and claimed it was an easy decision to protect his family. From a Jasperian perspective, here's this Jasper guy again. Marlowe's digital posts function as a modern equivalent of patient diaries, offering insight into his delusional disorder, late diagnosis, late onset paranoid schizophrenic or delusional disorder. I believe that paranoid schizophrenic is a false diagnosis, and even if it was a diagnosis, how the hell does the DSM say that paranoid schizophrenics? Hold on, let me stop right there. Okay, said that people with schizophrenia are far more likely to be victims than perpetrators of violence, and the mass majority are not dangerous. Okay, the vast majority of people with schizophrenia are not dangerous and are not more violent than the general population, especially when receiving treatment, but not violent. Even without treatment, it says that they're not violent. They're more likely to become victims of violence than perpetrators. Even if, and I don't believe the schizophrenia diagnosis, I don't. I think it's uh, even if the term schizophrenia exists and it's real, I believe it's more neural weapons and frequencies and all this stuff they're putting V2K and stuff like that. I think it's all man-made stuff. But anyway, what I'm saying is, read it yourself. The research says schizophrenic are more likely to become victims of a crime than perpetuate crime. So even if what he's saying, later diagnosis, late onset paranoid schizophrenic. Well, that's funny. Are you telling me all these so-called paranoid schizophrenic popping up doing all this stuff? That's going against what the DSM says. It says they're not likely to be violent. Okay, but let's move on because I don't even believe the diagnosis is real. I believe that it's manufactured through weapons and stuff like that. Uh, his rigid belief in mind control, described as psychotic beliefs involving telepathy and mental torture, aligns with Jasper's concept of primary delusions and understandable convictions of lacking rational ground. See, they're trying to paint him as some paranoid schizophrenic, which most of them aren't violent, so he must have just been okay, anyway. The performative nature of his video, posted to garner attention and validate his worldview, mirrors how TIs use social media to construct autobiographical narratives that reinforce their identities as victims of persecution. This public performance, however, escalated his actions as the desire for exposure drove him to commit and broadcast the killings, seeking to inspire others in the TI community. If somebody's trying to inspire you to do violence or abuse V2K, don't do it. And if you have to, don't even. You're not going to stop mind control. You're not going to stop this with violence. Not going to stop. See, and now they're saying dangers of TI groups, dangers of TI ideology. So now they can bank upon and blame the TI groups and all that for it. So if you put the disclosure out there and start promoting, they ain't got nowhere to go with this. Okay. Dangers of ID that TDI ideology performative acts Marlowe case underscores the risk posed by TI, particularly when amplified through online platforms. The TI community, often connected via social media, here they go talking bad about us again, fosters a shared illusion of gang stalking and mind control, sometimes involving beliefs in microchip implants or sonic weapons. The collective reinforcement can radicalize individuals, as seen in Marlowe video, where he expressed solidarity with other TIs and willingness to die for the cause. Similar patterns appear in other TI related video violent incidents. See, all you're doing is giving them a narrative. If you go commit an act of violence and try to stop this, you're not going to win. Plus, you're going to give them a narrative to make us look even bad. So your goal, it's going to be the opposite of what your goal is if you go commit an act of violence. these people really thought they were going to help the cause, and they just made us look um, more crazy. Gave them ammo to try to make us look more bad with their smear campaigns and all that. Okay. Where he expressed, okay, similar patterns appeared. See, now they're going to quote other people, other TIs. The Navy Yard shooter, Aaron Alexis, 2014 shooting by Myron May, where perpetrators acted on delusional beliefs again, causing us delusional about being targeted, often engaging with TI communities online. So I'm giving you the reasons you shouldn't act out in violence, and you shouldn't, because it puts innocent people at risk. Innocent people should not be hurt. It also is not the answer, period. But it also hurts the TI community in so many ways because it gives people like this narratives to form and present as we're dangerous. Okay, and now he gets the right to call us delusional. The performative aspect of Marlowe's actions, publicly declaring his counterattack to an online audience, parallels a broader trend among mass shooters who often seek notoriety through manifestos or social media posts. This aligns with research on mass shootings idolizing predecessors, as Marlowe's rhetoric about executing those responsible echoes the copycat phenomenon. The public nature of these acts amplifies their impact, potentially inciting others in the TI community to view violence as a legitimate response to perceived persecution, creating a feedback loop of radicalization. See, if none of these people would have done, then they wouldn't have had nowhere to go to paint us as dangerous people. But they're trying to paint us as dangerous people off actions of other people, other TIs who thought they were doing us a favor. And I gotta pause this. I apologize. I had a call I had to take. All right, I'm back. And I know where I left off from. Okay, so here, this is where it gets crazy. I mean, these people just write this stuff, um, when in fact, the TI community is not dangerous at all. If anything, we're loving beings who just want this to stop, want answers and all that. But for real, like serious, I'm not trying to tell no creator or no TI speaking out online, no leader of a TI group, and no administrator of a TI group or anywhere on X, Discord, anyway, what to do. But we need to put this disclaimer for anybody experiencing V2K or weapons or anything like that, that violence is not the answer. And I'm giving an example right here, and I'm not trying to tell nobody what to do or start a movement, none of that. I'm just trying to hammer home something that's going to help the community in the future. Uh, and so here's what else he says. Dangers of TI research. Research in the TI community poses significant ethical and practical challenges, particularly when applying Jasper's biograph, which requires empathetic engagement with subjective narratives. Key dangers include risk of amplifying harmful narratives, analyzing TI diaries or social media posts. The Jasper's method encourages risk inadvertently validating or amplifying delusional beliefs if not handled carefully. Public research, especially if shared online, could be co-opted by the TI community as evidence of their targeting, further entrenching their paranoia. See, they're labeling us paranoid again. Okay, for instance, Marlowe's manifesto was noted by TI communities, with some claiming he was a perp sent to discredit them, illustrating how research can be misinterpreted. Uh, um, Radicalization through engagement, engaging with TIs, even for research purposes, can fuel their beliefs as they may perceive academic or clinical interest as confirmation of their persecution. Well, MK Ultra never ended. There's plenty of proof of that. There's whistleblowers everywhere saying this is real. If you go to one of my videos, there was even an NSA whistleblower. There's many whistleblowers saying this is real. So that blows all this delusional stuff out of the see, but that's what they want to paint us. And that's what violent acts paint us as. That's what destroying people's property paint us as. When you go do that, oh, look at him. He said he was targeted and then he went out and done this, that, that. So that applies to the whole group. And man, they're dangerous people. Okay. So you see, and I'm not trying to come off the wrong way or whatever. I'm just trying to hammer home something. Violence is not the answer. I've been saying this for years on my channel. I encourage people to do this too. That way, it leaves them nowhere to go with this violent narrative. Okay? So if you're experiencing V2K and it's telling you this and trying to make you believe that you need to go do this and that's the answer and the only answer, do not do it. Even if you have to tell yourself, that's what they want, and I'll be damned if I let them win. Just like uh, we'll go. That was getting off topic. Okay, so but in a contact, the risk being misconstrued as endorsement, potentially escalating violent ideation, as seen in Marlowe's case, where his online activity preceded his actions. Ethical concerns and public data use. TI diaries on social media are publicly accessible, but using them for research raises privacy and consent issues. His methods assume a clinical setting with a patient consent, which is absent in public online spaces. Researchers must navigate how to study these narratives without exploiting vulnerable individuals or stigmatizing mental illness underestimation by authorities. The TI community's open radicalization, as noted in critiques of Marlowe's case, is often dismissed by authorities, increasing the risk of unnoticed escalation. Research highlighting TI violence, and he quotes Marlowe and Alexis May, could push for surveillance or intervention policies that risk further alienating TIs, driving them deeper into online echo chambers. Mental health stigma. Research framing TIs as inherently dangerous, as some sources do, can perpetuate stereotypes about mental illness. Jasper's method emphasizes understanding over judgment, but public discourse often labels TIs as deranged, obscuring the complexity of their conditions. Marlowe's delusional disorder is an example given, and hindering therapeutic approaches. Okay, Marlowe, in my opinion, was a victim of V2K. He didn't have delusional disorder. In his mind, he thought he was doing something good for TIs when in fact he wasn't. So, any TI watching this, please hammer it home. If you have anybody who are listening to you, who you're giving advice to, the first thing you need to tell TIs is do not act in violence. Don't commit act in violence. Don't commit acts of violence at no matter what. Um, and at the end, it looks like this dude is actually trying to make a point for TIs and stuff like that. But in my opinion, him posting what he posted, I mean, I don't, I blocked this dude a long time ago. But I think the way he wrote it, somebody's just going to read the first half and put it off as TIs are delusional and all that. We're not delusional. This is real. This is really happening. Uh, and violence isn't the answer, is all I got to say. Destroying somebody's property is not the answer. Um, and if your opinion differs, you got your opinion. But I'm asking anybody to hear that's listening to this that has any platform, or even if you're a TI showing your evidence or something, make sure you put the message out that violence isn't the answer. Let's reverse the narrative and leave them nowhere to go with these smear campaigns as painting us as dangerous and TI communities as dangerous. Because I've seen it. I've seen people post under my post calling for no violence, saying you're a perp calling for no violence. Violence is the answer. Okay, wrong. Because then it brings cases like this. I've seen numerous cases over the years. You got Robert Carr. I mean, anyway, and some of these people unfortunately don't know their TIs and are not in the TI community and hear stuff, and it happens like that. But as a community or as groups or whatever, we have the power to stop the ones and point them in a different direction. Uh, like I'm saying, you can fight this different ways. You know, uh, also, um, I'm just going to be quiet about that. I think I've said enough on that. Also, James Martinez declaration. I'm debating whether to read the declaration in a video and go over it and go over some statements he's made. Um, and then let you decide whether you want this declaration or not. I'm debating on what to do about that right now. I'm waiting on let me see. This may be an update right here. Because I watch. I don't just I'm not just gonna put out a video just to put out information. Okay. Um, so I've been sitting back watching. Okay, that's all I got to say about this. Um, okay. So I have not forgot about y'all and the James Martinez thing. So I am sitting back, studying, watching before I do anything. However, I might, you know, I might, do a video and read the Declaration and what it says, and all that. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do that. However, guys, remember, put a disclaimer in your groups. Don't act out in violence no matter what. Let's fight the narrative they're trying to push on us. God bless.